If you feel like your anxiety is making it impossible to communicate with your partner, you're not alone. Most couples who show up for couples therapy say they have a need for improved communication skills. They don't realize they actually have the skills to communicate effectively, but anxiety and emotional overwhelm are blocking their ability to connect. In this video, I'll show you the 3 most common ways anxiety hijacks your communication and give you some ideas on how to fix each one. If you suffer from anxiety, you have a deep understanding of the havoc it can create in your life. If I'm being honest here, I decided to switch careers and become a therapist after working with someone to learn to control my own anxiety. It was blowing up parts of my life, including my relationships, so I get it. However you slice it, anxiety is basically the mental gymnastics we do to try to know the unknowable and control the uncontrollable. It's about the uncertainty and fear we feel when things are out of control with no plan of getting in control. It's the way we seek safety in an uncertain world. You see, anxiety is powered by the fear-driven brain, which drives both fear and anger. It's our old friend fight or flight showing up to the party. Anger becomes a pretty good way of getting our partner to back off, and it's pretty effective in helping us get our way in a disagreement. But there's a price to pay. When our inability to regulate our emotions starts to create too much tension, or the trade-off for our partner is no longer worth it, we can run into real problems in our relationships. Now, we need 2 basic skills to manage this. First, we need to learn to recognize this response in ourselves. You see, anxiety always shows up in the body first, so practice noticing the physical signs of fight or flight. Tightness in your chest or neck, clenched jaw, pounding heart, rapid breathing. When you catch these signs, that's your cue. Don't try to push through the conversation. Your nervous system is already compromised, and continuing will likely only make things worse. Realize that this response leads to mental and relational problems too. I'll talk about those later in this video. And second, we need to understand we can't overcome all those years of evolution. Fight or flight is literally what allowed humans to survive in a dangerous world. So it's not reasonable to coping skill your way out of that. You need a different strategy. Try creating some space from each other. Establish an agreed timeout policy in your relationship where either of you can call timeout when things are just getting too heated to be productive. Now, a timeout isn't just walking away for an uncertain amount of time. You need a pre-designed plan you develop when you're not arguing to decide how long a timeout will last for your nervous system to reset, where you will go, and what coming back together will look like. I've actually developed a couples timeout tip sheet to help you get organized on this. You can get it for free by clicking the link in the description. The second way anxiety interferes relates to hearing and memory, and both of these can seriously affect our perceptions about what's really going on. Remember the fight or flight symptoms I mentioned? There is one that's less well known. It's called auditory exclusion. When we're under stress, the brain tends to filter out much of the sound in our environment. Now, it makes sense. When the caveman is fighting a tiger, he needed to be completely focused on the tiger, not distracted by the sounds of the wind or the bird in the tree. In stressful conversations with your partner, your brain still filters. The problem is you don't get to choose what's getting filtered. Has your partner ever claimed they told you something in an argument and you swear they never did? Did that lead to another argument completely separate from the original issue? While it may feel like it, your partner might not actually be gaslighting you in these moments. It's possible that your brain filtered and your partner's words just never landed with you. And when you're under stress, the brain actually does a pretty lousy job of dealing with memory. It doesn't write things into our memory banks very well, and we don't recall things accurately either. So you're not deaf, you're not feeble-minded. When you don't hear things properly or don't remember them accurately, this is often how the brain works under stress. It's an inconvenient feature, not a glitch. Besides taking a timeout to get calm again and before you continue, you may be able to just slow things down to give your brain time to process what's going on. Practice taking a beat. Literally pause for 3 to 5 seconds before responding. Say what you want to say silently in your head first, and then speak. It feels awkward at first, like you're creating dead air, but that pause gives your brain the processing time it desperately needs under stress. Now, here's the catch. You both have to agree to respect these pauses. If your partner takes 5 seconds to think before responding, don't jump in. That silence is their brain processing. That's not them ignoring you. Agree on this ground rule beforehand, just like the timeout policy. Also, get used to verifying what you just heard is what your partner actually said or meant to say. I mean this literally. Here's what I just heard you say. Is that correct? You may be surprised how often your perceptions and what your partner said or intended don't line up. And here's a bonus tip. There's one thing you can learn to say to your partner that acknowledges this possible disconnect. I actually made another video on this technique, and it's linked above. You may want to check that one out too. And third, anxiety can make us very fact-focused. You did this, I told you that. It's how we try to fill gaps when we're trying to know the unknowable or control the uncontrollable. We create a false narrative in our minds and try to proceed as if that's the truth. It's how we try to feel in control. But this is problematic in two ways. First, what we call facts are actually perceptions. Your brain filters everything through your fears and your values, so what feels undeniably true to you might be completely different from what your partner experienced in the exact same moment. So the anxious, fear-driven brain can do a whole lot of work on a scenario that only has a limited basis on reality. When we argue with our partners about these things, we're not even interacting about the same version of what happened or what's going on right now. That's ineffective and frustrating, and it can be really destructive to our relationships. But here's the bigger problem with fact-focused arguing. When we focus so much on perceptions like you said this or you did that, we completely miss the most important part of the situation, how you feel about it. You see, nobody ever leaves a relationship because we disagree on which guy Rory Gilmore should choose or whether pineapple goes on pizza. The destructive part isn't the fact-focused differences of opinion. It's the way we feel when those disagreements devolve into criticism and angry words. It's not what we disagree about. It's the feelings we experience in how we disagree that leaves us feeling lonely and devastated. We can keep things calm and build connection by talking about feelings instead of facts, which are only perceptions anyway. When your anxiety is beginning to take hold, try focusing on your own emotions instead of whatever narrative is playing out in your mind. Here's a simple script. I'm feeling, insert the emotion, right now. Can we talk about that? Notice you're not explaining why you feel that way just yet, and you're not building a case with facts. You're simply naming the feeling and inviting connection. This is a win in two important ways. First, you're talking about something that cannot be argued. Only you know how you feel, and nobody else can reasonably contradict that. We step around the object of the conflict to get to the thing that's most important anyway, how you feel in the moment. Second, when you lead with emotion, you promote empathy. If you lead with perceptions or opinions, you're just promoting pushback. Leading with, you always prioritize work over me, provides an easy target for the next conflict. Your partner defends, explains, counters with their own version of events. And you're often running with disagreements, criticisms, and all the old players in your anxiety-driven patterns. But if you lead with, I'm feeling anxious and worried, your partner is far more likely to respond with curiosity. What's going on? Why do you feel that way, and how can I help? This puts us in far more productive territory. It helps us connect on the emotional level that was present when you two first chose each other. It steps around conflict and takes us directly to a place of connection and support. By the way, I'm officially on Team Jess. Can you prove me wrong in the comments below? How about ways anxiety shows up in your relationship? What words of support and encouragement can you provide for other viewers on this very issue? Hey friends, if you found this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe below. It really helps this video show up for others in the way I'm showing up for you right now. I'll see you next time, and until then, be well.